Welcome to the second edition of the Boston Bros. I am Jim Campanini, former editor of the Lowell Sun, way former. And this is my co-host, Peter Lucas, Boston Herald political columnist. You say an opinion columnist or?
Columnist.
Just columnist,
Well,
right? Even though it's opinion.
Occasionally have an opinion. It's a reporter's columnist. It's a reporter's column.
Yeah. Very good. So we're going to talk about some stories that have been breaking since we last reported to you just before the Trump inauguration. A lot has been going on, both in the Trump administration and at home. But right now, we've got our share of news coming out of Massachusetts. A lot of controversial topics. So I want to turn the page to Peter, who writes a great column 3 times a week in the Boston Herald. He's one of the few that continue to write about state, regional, and national news with a lot of fact-based reporting. So, Peter, what's number one on your list?
Well, what struck me number one on my list was the governor just filed a $62 billion budget for the upcoming fiscal year. What leaped out at me was she put in a tax, sales tax on candy. And I'm sure when the children find out they're going to have to pay an extra 14 cents for a candy bar, they're going to be outraged.
Well, that's crazy. 6.25% on candy. This past year, we had to buy 900 pieces of candy for Halloween. Okay, and the price went up because my wife keeps all these statistics. We paid about $180 for the candy from Costco, and that was up $20 from the year before because the price of chocolate went up. So now with that tax, that thing is going to go up. It'll be over $200. It's time to say, I'm sorry about the kids. No more candy. That's it. And what is this going to raise? I mean,
$25 million
on a $62 billion budget,
which is peanuts.
Now I like to go to the racetrack. Okay,
sure.
And they say you bet on return on investment, okay? For your $2, you try to maximize your value. $25 million for a candy tax on Mars bars.
My proposal, Jim, is this. The Massachusetts Fiscal Association Foundation should organize a children's crusade. They come up to the State House, bus kids in from the 6th grade, all over Massachusetts. It'll be a learning experience. They can demonstrate outside the House chamber and the Senate chamber and outside the governor's office. In fact, they could demand a meeting with the governor, like other protesting.
That'd be great.
Groups do.
You think she could ward off? She might be. Well, this leads us to our other story. If she finds out that 1,000 kids are going to come in and quote unquote assault the State House over her candy tax, she just might leave the state. Okay, which has been another story that's been in the news lately.
Well,
take it away.
She spent a lot of time outside the state campaigning for her candidates. She campaigned for many days up in New Hampshire for Joyce Craig, who ran for governor and lost. She campaigned in Pennsylvania, Minnesota, California for Kamala Harris, who lost. And I don't know. It seems to me wherever she went, she lost.
Okay, yeah, and she doesn't have a good track record. She's going to the wrong states, Maybe try a few red states.
Campaigning for the wrong candidate.
Yeah. But okay, in all your years covering the elections, gubernatorial elections, and okay, governors do go and campaign for candidates, but is that any more or less than you've seen for past governors from Massachusetts? I mean, or is the problem the lack of transparency? Because she promised to be a transparent governor, but she won't even give up her logs where she is.
It's difficult to get an actual daily schedule from the governor's office. But in my experience, she's been out of state no more than any other past governor.
Okay.
But past governors like Bill Weld, for instance, would go on vacation. Mm-hmm. Governor Healy goes on campaigns.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
Yeah. And you know what? She didn't get much out of it because this is what gets me. You're a governor of a state. You're representing all the people in the state. And granted, you have to make ties. But I think some of the best people are people who can command respect on both sides of the aisle. I mean, it looks like, under the Biden administration, Maura Healey and other state Democratic leaders were counting on getting the $4 billion for the bridges, the new bridges at Cape Cod, which we severely need. And yet now it looks like that money might dry up, that infrastructure money. I hope it doesn't. But still, it's good to know someone on the other side. So even if change of administration, this is the United States of America. We want the best for everybody. But all the bad blood that was created, and especially from our 2 U.S. senators, who all they do are attack dogs for the Democrat Party.
It's going to be very difficult to make up for all the insults that they hurled at Trump over the past campaign. As far as the bridges down at the Cape goes, the Bourne and the Sagamore Bridge, if I were an advisor to the governor, I would propose that name one after Donald Trump and the other one that's one way we could get the money.
Or even Melania.
One after Melania, one after Trump. The Melania Bridge and the Trump Bridge.
Yeah, and maybe we get some money.
The money would come rolling in. The money would come rolling in.
Here's an idea. What about every newly constructed school in Massachusetts has to bear the Trump name? We'd have like 50 schools, the Trump, Trump Elementary School, Trump Middle School. That's a way to get some money. And then you change them up after 4 more years. You change them back.
Well, it's better than having, roads named in numbers, 93, 95. You get confused where you are.
Yeah.
If you had Trump 1, Trump 2, it would be much simpler.
It's incredible. So, you're talking about bridges and infrastructure. I mean, people have been up in arms. Trump has said, "Hey, wait a minute, we're slowing down." He's ordered a halt on all non-government funding for NGOs and stuff. And our producer Teddy Paynos here was telling us this morning that that might affect some Lowell NGOs, right? That are getting federal funding. But, right away the hysteria begins. Oh, he's cutting funding. He's going to close down this, close down. And all it is, to do an audit. Where is this money going? Who's getting paid and stuff? I mean, why do we get hysterical over this stuff? It seems like the money's got to keep flowing and flowing and flowing without any checks or balances.
I don't. The only people who are hysterical are the Democrats who lost the election and their friends in the media. The average citizen is cheering every executive office, everything that Trump has been doing. And in fact, he's done more in a week than Joe Biden did in a year.
Well, it's a joy now to wake up first thing in the morning and read the newspaper. I hardly ever used to read the Boston Globe, okay? But I do have an online edition, and I get it online. Well, now, I mean, I used to scan the headlines because it was all the same and stuff, cover up for Joe Biden and everything. Now, I mean, I see 5 to 6 stories on the front page, all involving Trump every day from the Boston Globe. Most of it would or could fear headlines, okay? But I love it because every day there's a new creative idea from Trump. Let's rename, the Gulf of Mexico. Let's take over Greenland. Whether I agree with him or not, at least the guy's thinking. But he shares his thoughts. And yet the press is salivating to just go after him and say this guy's crazy or something. Well,
the media is going after Trump the way they should have gone after Joe Biden. That is so obvious. However, the Democratic Party and the media, its supporters in the media, just refuse to understand that Trump not only won the election, but he won big. And the majority of the people in the United States are behind him and everything he's doing, starting with the border.
Well, we got to talk about that. But going back to this scenario about covering. I mean, some stories just as simple as today, the Boston Globe had a story about all the Trump cabinet members and nominees and where they got their money from during the campaign and how much money they made for think tanks promoting Trump, whether they wrote speeches, op-eds, made campaign appearances. And, you know, Robert F. Kennedy's on the top of the list. God bless him. He made $11 million. Now, I don't know if that was income through all his writing or appearances or what, or if it's his regular salary. I don't know. But they had him on the top of the list. Did you ever see any stories about Frank and James Biden where they got their millions? As far as I know, they were layable attorneys and real estate people had shadow companies that no one did business with. I mean, except for overseas conglomerates.
But they all got pardons.
Yeah, they hung up. But even the last 4 years, I mean, the Biden family really started when he was vice president with all these alliances overseas, the Chinese and everything else. And yet it was ripe for at least a story on where's this money coming from. But the press ignored it right from even when he was the vice president.
That's very true. But I think you're being kind of hard on the Globe. It does have a great sports section.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It does. Yep. And they do a good they do a good job. I mean, but my other thing is where they come up with some of their own ideas, like their columnists. I mean, they're not only are those some of those columns so skewed, but they're not even relevant. They just do it. It seems to fear. I mean, I know a columnist is supposed to provoke. Okay, like you do sometimes, but you provoke with facts, based on facts.
I try.
Make people think, be insightful. I mean, I was an editor for over 30 years. I wrote editorials for 20 years. I know what it is to try to persuade the public, but you base it on at least some fact. There doesn't seem to be any. And they find the same professor from the same liberal school who says the same thing all the time.
You mean he hasn't retired yet?
No, he hasn't retired. So let's get into the immigration policy. As we know, Trump right away signed executive orders closing off the border. And Tom Homan has been very, very active with, at the Homeland Security and with ICE and going into these sanctuary cities. It's another story to create a hysteria. Right away, every illegal immigrant was going to be deported. And it's not the case.
Look,
it's been criminal illegal immigrants.
The federal government and ICE are doing the job that the local government and the state is not doing. And that is arresting murderers, rapists, killers, bad people who are in this country illegally. Now, what is wrong with that? It would be more heartening if the governor and the attorney general and the city of Boston did the same thing. But sanctuary policy being what it is, they not only are not doing it, they're not even helping the federal government rid society of the scum of the universe.
And that's shameful in light of the fact that I think it was last week, and let's give the Globe credit for a story they did through public records requests to the governor, found out that there were over 1,000 serious incidents in the shelters in Massachusetts over the last 2 years.
I'll only point out, I think the Herald did that story first. But
they did?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did they do that first?
Yeah.
Okay, let's give credit where credit is due, the Boston Herald. And the Globe also did a story. But it was shocking to me that none of these things made it into the local police logs, because you do have local community newspapers, and nowhere did anybody connect the dots. So they kept this off the police logs. And then when the governor had to reveal this stuff to a public records request, I mean, there were sex attacks, rapes of children, thefts, larceny, attempted murder. I mean, this is unbelievable.
They're all taking place at the Healy hotels.
Oh, man. And the two egregious cases was the man in Revere who was found with AK-47, AK-15, cash, fentanyl. And then the other case where was he from Venezuela or Colombia, where 17 convictions, and he had been released from several Massachusetts courts, even though from 2002 to 2024, he had 17 convictions, and he wasn't in jail, and he was out on parole. I mean, unbelievable. ICE got him, and he's going to be deported, and yet Andrea Campbell, our Attorney General, wants to sue the Trump administration.
Well, she's following in the footsteps of Maura Healey when Maura was Attorney General and in 4 years sued Trump during his first administration 100 times. That's 25 lawsuits a year. I don't know what else the Attorney General's office was doing, but that's what it was doing. And now she's Andrea Campbell, who succeeded Maura as Attorney General, is doing the same thing.
But what gets me is
my point is, I wish they would spend as much time going after criminals in the state rather than avoiding prosecuting illegal criminals in the state and allowing the federal government to do it instead. That bothers me.
Well, here's another story that ran in yesterday's newspaper about how Trump's crackdown and ICE's crackdown on the immigrant community was going to doom all these nursing homes and assisted living care centers that depend on immigrants to do the menial jobs that they can't fill the jobs. And I'm saying to myself, they're already shorthanded. I've got a sister who's in a nursing home. She's 84 years old. God bless her. And they're undermanned because she can't get the rehab she needs. And so there's already a problem there. But these aren't criminals working in the nursing homes. Why would the government go after them, Peter? See, this is what they're creating, this hysteria, like all this stuff. The restaurants are going to close, okay? The nursing homes are going to close. The hospitals are going to shut off the switches. Have you seen any of this yet?
No, but I haven't seen any. I'm waiting for the world to end because John Kerry and the progressives told me 12 years ago that the world was going to end by 2024, 2025.
Yes, I remember.
And we're all still here.
Yeah.
So something wrong.
Yeah, and even my wife is very concerned because she started her seedlings for this year's daylilies, and it takes 3 years for her to grow. I says, don't do it this year because the prognosticators in the Democrat Party and other liberal organizations have said that the world's going to end between 2025.
Well, what she should be doing is growing marijuana.
Yeah, I guess that's the way to go out too and stuff. So,
Yeah.
so going back to the immigration at the border, I mean, there was a shootout yesterday. Did you see that?
Yes.
I mean, the cartels, very aggressive. All right, they're upset because I guess they were trying to get some people across the border. They were met by harsh resistance for the Border Patrol. Okay, American Border Patrol agents, fantastic. Coming on the heels of a Border Patrol agent who was killed in Vermont. Okay.
Well, Trump has declared the cartels to be a terrorist organization, and I would expect Trump to go after them militarily shortly, because he's not going to stand for any nonsense coming from the cartels. Just like he didn't stand for any nonsense coming from the president of Colombia regarding accepting illegal immigrants.
Well, that was a quick turnaround, huh?
Yeah, very quick, 24 hours.
Yeah, and it was amazing. We had the planes there right on the tarmac in Colombia, and he wouldn't accept them because he said they were military planes, and we don't treat our criminals like that. He said citizens. I said criminals, but they're all deported criminals.
Should have said residents.
Unbelievable. So it's just amazing that I have to imagine that most Americans have to be happy. I think there was a poll that said 48% of Americans were happy with the first week in some of his executive orders. And
you mentioned the military planes. I think it's going to be, the whole program is going to be stepped up with Pete Hegseth as the new Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
He is going to reform the military and end wokeism and transgender troops and allow the people who had been forced out of the military because they wouldn't take the vaccine during the pandemic. They're all coming back. And he's promising a great shakeup of the military, which is long overdue.
Yeah, and Trump signed the order, I guess, eliminating transgender troops also in the military. I saw in a story that there are 5,000 the people who fill that category, and most of them received their transition surgery while they joined the military. And Hegseth, in his book, and also before the congressional committee, when he went for his nomination, the Senate committee, he mentioned how most of them weren't, they signed up for 2 years or 3 years a stretch, but when you go through transition surgery, you're 12 months on the sidelines recovering and
then
healing.
you're on drugs.
So he says, and then the 3 years is up before they've even been in a trench or training.
He's improving the military. He's going to improve it to such a degree, I may re-enlist. I may go back and trade my hat in for a helmet.
Well, you got the right cup there.
And I like Ike for my coffee cup here.
Yeah. So it looks like you're all set. You can put that in your military kit. But I read his book War on Warriors. You did too.
Yeah, I did too.
And he's got a great line in there. He says, he said, if he were the head of the military, he says there would be no more pronouns in the military. Pronouns don't win wars.
Right.
I loved it. And he's, but what gets me about these Trump appointees? They all, so far, the ones who have nominated, have hit the ground running. It's not like, when Biden took over, I remember this story with Pete Buttigieg, who was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana. He didn't know anything about transportation, and yet he became the Secretary of Transportation. And Biden put in all his orders for the EV cars and electric vehicles and wanted to change over everything. And Buttigieg said, well, he had to evaluate everything. Okay, he had to evaluate everything. The first 6 months to a year, evaluate. He signed a couple of orders because he was going to push in that way electric vehicles.
How are those electric vehicles doing in California?
They're exploding.
They're all exploding. There's no electricity. They can't juice them up again. They're sitting idle by the road. They're not even working. You can't juice them up because all the stations are without power, and it's just a mess, horrible mess.
Yeah, and his Hegseth already, he's put all the generals on notice, told the military, hey, this is going to be a meritocracy. You work hard. I don't care your color, creed, whatever. You're going to get promoted. We're going to increase your benefits and stuff.
Well, they're going to need generals. I'm not going to go back in. Unless they make me at least a general.
Well, you should qualify for all those columns that you wrote. Those are the good ammo, good ammo and stuff. So, and the other thing is, that position is a civilian position that Hegseth took.
Yes, yeah.
And yet everybody was upset, he wasn't a 4-star general. Well, what did the 4-star generals get? I mean, Lloyd Austin was gone for a week and nobody knew. He was in the hospital. He didn't tell anybody.
The president didn't know.
The president didn't know. Okay. You had Mark Milley calling his counterpart in the Chinese military. Okay, and he didn't even report to the president. This was under the Trump administration that he did it. Tell him that I'm going to tell you in advance if we attack.
He was calling the Chinese behind the president's back.
Do you think that's why he got the pardon? Isn't that treasonous?
He got a pardon, and I don't know if that's the end of the story, but he did get a pardon. And to me, once you accept a pardon, you admit guilt.
Yeah. Well, all of them. I think all of them that accepted those pardons. But the way that Biden did it, his family, his aides, going and Hunter Biden back 10 years. I mean, it's crazy. So. Anyway, what else do we have on the list, Peter, that we want to talk about? We've covered all that stuff, and anything new?
Yeah, well, what struck me is how there's trouble in paradise. Michelle Obama and Barack are not getting along these days, and he reportedly is got a new interest in actress Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, yeah.
That's kind of making the news. And then, of course, there's rumors about Kamala Harris and Doug. Even though they go shopping together these days, there's trouble
Well,
apparently in that arrangement.
you know, you got to love some of these sharp-eyed people. It was interesting. I was watching The Five the other night on Fox, and the judge Gene Pirro saw Doug and Kamala shopping, and here she is. She comes out of the market with all these plastic bags, which she was against. She wanted to ban plastic bags because the whales, the dolphins, and here she is walking out with all these plastic bags, and she says, look. Here she is. She tells everybody else what to do, but it's not, you know, Kamala doesn't follow advice. But what else is new? On the campaign trail, she flip-flopped many times. So, but she's already preparing her campaign for 2028.
Well, you know, she's got plenty of time in her hands.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
But Michelle and Barack, I mean, I was just, I mean, I just couldn't believe that, you know, I go to places when I was the editor. My wife didn't want to go to a lot of these functions at night, but because of I was the editor, my position, I'd say, Mary Lee, please, you got to swallow the bullet for me, please. You got to come. You got to be by my side. Now here's an inauguration with president, and she did not attend the inauguration with the Barack, but neither did she go to Jimmy Carter's funeral. Okay, which tells me what is going on with Michelle. I mean, I could see going to Carter's. Okay, you don't want to go to the Trump inauguration, but he was a Democrat, good Democrat, had good relations with the Obama administration, did a lot of work for them. I mean,
well, my sources tell me she didn't go to the inauguration because she didn't want to compete with Melania's hat. It was the hat. It was the greatest hat I've ever seen.
Yeah, yeah. Nice bowl.
That hat reminded me of, right. It was right at Casablanca.
Yeah.
Remember Ingrid Bergman and Humphrey Bogart?
Yeah.
And she had the hat, mysterious looking hat.
Oh, yeah. No,
She stole the show with
She
that
did.
hat.
She
Yeah.
did. And her fashion style is fantastic. You know, she's going to add some elegance and class to the White House, and I think
Not that Trump needs it.
But I think
He could use a little.
No, but I think you know, young people emulate people like that, and young woman dressing up, because you know we've gone through different styles and different trends.
People dress the way we do. Look at us.
Yeah.
Look at us.
But even Trump's granddaughter Kai, the 17-year-old Kai, the daughter of Don Trump. I mean, she made a statement. They go on TikTok and Instagram and stuff. But going back to the Obamas, do you think these rumors are true? I don't know about the Aniston one, Jennifer Aniston and stuff, but Splitsville between the Obamas. It could be. I think there's something there. I really do.
Well, it could be. You know, going back when Kamala first ran for the Senate in California, one of her biggest supporters was Barack Obama. They were an item back then, and who knows?
Do you think Michelle would have accepted the nomination if
No.
to bail out the party?
I think she's too wise to become a candidate for anything, because you'd have to put yourself out there in public again, and you know, she has two grown daughters to protect. No.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Well, I think they've done a great job with their two daughters, the family and stuff. Certainly, it would be a shame if they split up. I wish them no harm, but you know, sometimes there's people their marriages run their course, so they should both be happy in whatever they do. So it's
One other thing that you should have brought up, we haven't brought up, is that the mayor of Boston, Michelle Wu.
Yes.
She's been asked to testify before a House committee on immigration.
Well, it's the House Government and Oversight Committee.
James
That's
Comer,
James
the
Comer,
chairman,
yes. Yeah, and they're looking into all the policies at sanctuary cities.
Right.
So she got her letter yesterday, and they want a lot of communication between agencies, contractors. What did the city of Boston tell these people and different agencies? Well, it goes back to the Judge Joseph case. Remember her when she let the
immigrant out the back door.
the illegal ICE was there. They told him to wait in the corridor in front of the courthouse. They wouldn't even let him in the courtroom.
No.
Federal agents, they wouldn't even let him in a courtroom.
And
Okay.
Judge Joseph let him out the back door.
And she's been on paid administrative leave.
No, she's a sitting judge back.
Yes, she's now. But during that process, it took 2 years to resolve that case,
And
right?
she
And
made
she was getting paid all the time.
$200,000 a year.
Yeah.
But now she's back on the bench.
Not without any. Was the bar association supposed to bring something up, or the
It's still before the bar.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
she's a sitting judge again. Yeah.
And she let out this person out the back door. So it goes back to all that.
The thing interesting about Michelle Wu, the mayor of Boston, she's up for re-election, and that appearance before a committee, I'm sure it'll be well covered, could have ramifications on her re-election campaign, because everybody will be watching, and the way Comer questions people. Remember the Harvard president, Claudia Gay,
and
how she folded before the committee. It'd be interesting to see how
she
Michelle
couldn't define what a man or a woman was.
Right. It'd be interesting to see how well Michelle holds up and defends her position on immigration.
Yeah. How do you think she'll do?
I think she'll do fine.
Yeah.
I think her looks. She looks like she's 15 years old.
Yeah.
But she's a very experienced pro.
Yeah.
Who's run for
Yeah.
Boston.
Yeah.
She's run citywide in Boston 4 or 5 times and won every time.
God bless her. She's a mother for the 3rd time. She's in a difficult job. And you know what? This could give a great national exposure.
That's right. Yes, it could.
Yeah. So in 2028, she could be making the keynote address.
Well, I don't know.
But
anything is possible.
But Peter, I've got some good Democrat friends, and it's tough to hear them on the phone in the morning crying. The whole world is crashing down. DEI is collapsing.
A friend, a Democrat operative, called me yesterday, and he's bemoaning Trump. And I said, look, it's only been a week. Hold your indignation. Hold on to it for a while, because you're going to have it build up. Just don't get so indignant over 1 week. Wait till we've been in a year. Then save your indignation for a breaking point.
Yeah. And we didn't even bring up the truce in Israel, which between Hamas and the hostages coming home, and Trump floating his plan, to have all the Palestinians go to Jordan or Egypt, killing them. And now, he took a lot of heat. Jordan said no. Egypt said no. But you know what? I mean, I love that the guy is thinking, and sometimes he's thinking out of the box. He says, and this is a question, I remember writing editorials about it. Why won't the Arab countries take more of a role in resolving the Gaza situation for the Palestinian people? I wrote that 10, 15, 20 years ago. It's been in other newspapers. And now they just don't want him. But here's Trump bringing up a probably an old idea, but now putting the force of his presidency behind it, and everybody's just attacks. Oh, it won't work. Well, there's a lot of things that people said won't work that have turned out to work, because people then put their heads together and stuff. But I love the guy for at least every day in the newspaper or on the news, he's coming up with a new idea.
He's coming up with a new idea.
And yet the press should be saying, wow, this guy's a thinker. No, instead, they get the attack. They get the attack mentality out right away. And it's just, hey, let's take that idea. Can it work? Can it not work?
One of his plans is move them all out, rebuild Gaza,
Yes.
and have them come back.
Yeah. And Jordan and Egypt feared that they wouldn't go back.
They're fellow Muslims.
Yeah.
Don't want the Palestinians.
Oh,
it's
man, you
kind of
can't make
crazy.
this stuff up, And then when does Denmark fold over Greenland?
Well, probably this afternoon.
Unbelievable. I'll tell you, I've never been to Greenland, but the more I read about it now, they've Teddy, now there's more exposure for Greenland. I never heard anything about Greenland.
Greenland should be happy.
Yes,
There's only
it might be a nice destination place.
direct flight to, instead of a direct flight to Iceland, go to Greenland.
I got to
instead.
check out the vineyards. Are there any on? So let's move to our media segment now.
All right.
I thought this was very, very, very interesting, okay? And we've got two great daily newspapers still left in this state. You've got the Boston Herald, the small, scrappy newspaper. A lot the working class people. It's always punching above its weight and stuff. And then you get the big dog, the Boston Globe. They've got some good journalists there and stuff still. But I don't understand some of the decision making by the editors. So here's a story from January 12th, okay? The hysteria that began when, Trump announced that he was, just before his inauguration, Globe did this story from Andrea Campbell, how she wanted to ramp up her office. This appeared in the Globe on the front page, January 12th. We're prepared, we're ready. A.G. Campbell staffs up office in preparation for next Trump term. She was looking for more attorneys, lawyers, to join her office to fight Trump's policies, mainly for immigration and stuff. The Globe did a follow-up story, I think it was a day or two later, or the Herald, saying how she didn't have the money, because everybody's wondering, where's she going to get the money from? And she put in a request for more money for these lawyers and everything, to fight Trump, not criminals in this state, but for Trump. Okay, so there's the story that appeared January 12th. My good friend here to the right of me, Peter Lucas, writes his column in the Herald. This appeared on January 18th, 6 days later. AG blind to illegal migrant crime. This is Peter's column based on Campbell's decision to fight Trump, just like Maura Healey, when she was the Attorney General, fought Trump in his first term, 100 lawsuits over everything. Who knows what happened? Nothing came of them, but anyway. So he writes this story, basically criticizing her, and good reason. You read the thing, saying, hey, focus on this state, and its crime and everything else, and good story. So the first one appeared January 12th. Peter comes back in the Boston Herald on the 18th, okay, 6 days later. So now I open up the paper on Sunday, January 19th, the day after Peter's column runs. The Globe reruns the original story they had on the front page on January 12th in their Sunday newspaper. Same headline. All they changed was the photo of Andrea Campbell. 2 for 1. Were they reacting to Peter Lucas's fact-based story?
No.
Or did they just say, well, someone in Campbell's office said, did you see what Peter Lucas did? Oh, we need that story reprinted because, I don't know, we're getting a lot of calls or something. I don't know. I'm just saying.
They probably said the story's so good, we're going to run it again.
They ran it again.
Nobody sees it during the week.
So,
in case you missed it,
maybe one editor went on vacation after they were sick because of the Trump inauguration on the 20th, and a new team came in and said, "Geez, let's rerun that story."
Hey Jim, at the rate you're going, I'll never get back to the Globe. They'll never hire me again. I'll have to go into the Army instead.
But it's just amazing. They thought it was so good, they reran it. And it ran the day before Trump was inaugurated, the 20th. So 2 times they had to get, I guess, their message through, and they tried through this, but the same headline, didn't even try to masquerade it, and all they did was change the picture. So
that's a wrap.
Yeah, that's right. But you can formulate your own opinion, and I like to go and read the comments under the stories.
The comments are better than the story.
The comments are better than the stories. And I tell you, the people who do comment, some of them are very, very smart on both sides, liberals and conservatives and stuff, and they bring up a lot of good points, and that's why I like to read those comments. But I tell you, there's a lot closer. It used to be 75% liberals to 25% conservatives. The conservatives used to get swarmed over and overwhelmed. Now, I tell you, it's trending more like 40, 60, 60 liberal, 40. So more people are commenting from the other side. I guess they're not afraid anymore, to do that. So listen, I think we covered a lot of ground, huh?
We did.
And anything new coming up? You think we should be watching out for in the next week or two before our next show?
Yeah, your golf game in Florida.
Yeah, I'll be heading out for Florida, but we will continue the show. I will zoom in. I'll get a good take on Governor DeSantis' state and what's taking place down there after the 2 hurricanes last year, which moved me off the island. I'm not on the island anymore because of damage and stuff. So I'm further south and closer to Siesta Key. I'm just off about 3.5 miles off the beach, and that's fine. But it's always nice to get down there. Matter of fact, when I went for my physical yesterday, my doctor says, "Can't you go to Florida for 3 months?" I said, "Doc, why?" He says, "You'll live longer." He says, "You need to be active at your age." He says, and he says, when you after golf season, you tend to shut down, you gain a little weight. I says, "Yeah," but he says, "Convince your wife, go to Florida for 3 months." I said, "Doc, if you can convince her, I'll give you $1,000 medical bonus." I said, but I said, and I don't want to argue with her. She's the flower of my life. I don't want to argue with her. So until she decides she wants to stay there 3 months, looks like I'm gonna have to freeze in March and April. So
Poor you.
yeah. So, well, until next time, this is a great show. We hope you enjoyed. And I hope, Peter, that you become a general.
I
See you later.
Ike.